Hello, this is Earl Watt with the Leader in Times, and there's been a lot of controversy lately dealing with the Federal Aviation Administration in the city of Liberal. And there are some who've said that there are two sides to this issue. That may or may not be true. There may be more than that. There may not be any sides. But what we want you to know are the facts. What we've tried to share with you are all of the documents we've been able to acquire so that you will know what has happened, what the documents say, and you can make an informed decision for yourself. Now, we've gone through and made several requests for this information, painstakingly mulling through that information, spending countless hours in research to bring this information to you. So today, I'm going to share with you the actual documents that we have in our possession that we've acquired through Freedom of Information Act requests with the federal government, with Kansas Open Records Act requests here in the state of Kansas, and also the minute meeting notes from the Liberal City Commission, so that you can have all the same information that we have. You know, it's really easy to say that people take sides, but the newspaper doesn't have that luxury. All we can do is present you with the facts and allow you to make good, informed decisions. All of this started with the idea that we can sell a piece of property and take the money from that sale and build new softball fields. Now, the property in question was part of the Liberal Army Airfield, which means that it has to be governed by the FAA when it comes to selling any piece of that property. That document starts with this document right here. This document is the 1948 quitclaim deed between the U.S. government and the city of Liberal. This document gave the city of Liberal all of the property at the airport and all the way out to Western. Now, this document shares a number of things that we want you to be aware of. First of all, there is page after page after page of the tracts of land that were given to the city of Liberal. Okay? But more importantly, it's important for you to see just how detailed the federal government was with what they gave. Here's a couple of my favorites that have listed on what they have given to the city of Liberal. A grease gun, model 6550. A drill, electric, Black & Decker, serial number 625721. This document shows a lot of detailed of what was given to the city. And every single item that was given to the city had a covenant. And that was that any of this property that's been given to the city must, if sold, be given to the fund. And the whole purpose was the federal government wanted to support aviation with all of this surplus property. So they gave it away to cities, but you had to use it for the purpose of supporting aviation. This document earmarks a lot of that. Now, two other things that are important to note in this. One is the very back page, okay? And it's these three lines right here. I'm going to read these three lines right here. Okay, they say, "It shall be a condition hereof that any and all funds derived from the conveying of said property be deposited in the city's airport revolving fund to be used exclusively for the maintenance, operation, and improvement of the Liberal Municipal Airport." That's important because remember what the claim was. We can sell the property where the softball fields were at 7th and Western and take that money and build new softball fields. These 3 lines right here prohibit and prevent that from happening. In addition to that preventing the use of that money to build softball fields, it just doesn't allow for that. When the research was done by the city to see if it was possible to do that, they discovered a document in 1984. And that document is right here. Okay? This document is what the city said,
or that the legal staff said, was a release form of that property.
Okay? Now, what's important are these 3 lines down here. Okay? These 3 lines right here. These 3 lines say, the city has requested that a certain 364.6 acre tract of the Liberal Municipal Airport, as more fully described hereafter, be released from the National Emergency Use Provision of the quitclaim deed. So this document did not release the city from this entire document.
Because this entire document is not the National Emergency Use Provision.
When we researched this document, what we found, after it lists all of these things, by the way, it also lists a wrench, 4 claw hammers, 4 pitchforks, 2 shovels, a pair of pliers. But when you get past all of that listing, right here on this page, which is page 134, okay, paragraph 3, right here's paragraph 3. Paragraph 3 says that during any national emergency declared by the President of the United States or the Congress thereof, the government shall have the right to make exclusive or non-exclusive use and have exclusive or non-exclusive control and possession without charge of the airport. Okay? So, this paragraph right here was the only paragraph removed in 1984. Only this paragraph right here. That's the only thing that changed. That's it. It didn't change where the money had to go. It didn't change that anything else was released. It simply said that in a national emergency, the government will not come back in of the airport. So, with these documents in hand, and with not being released from it, the city went ahead and sold those ball fields to the group that represented Walmart, Price. The group was called Price Enterprises. Okay? And so Price Enterprises represented Price Properties, Price Properties LLC represented Walmart in purchasing that property that was being sold by the city of Liberal, which we now know the $850,000 could not be used. That's what they sold it for, $850,000. That money could not be used to build new softball fields. Okay? But it's important for you what we had to acquire through open records requests following that they did sell it. Now, we're going to come to this document, which was the private document signed by the city of Liberal with Price to sell them the property. Okay? But before we do that, we have to notice what else happened in the timeline. Okay? Because after the city agreed to sell the property, which happened in the middle of a special meeting or an executive session that the city had. Okay? Now, earlier in July,
at a city meeting, it was discussed that Price Properties was interested in buying the ball fields.
And that the city started the negotiation process. And on May 27th of 2014, on May 27, 2014, on the city agenda, this is the city agenda, on the city agenda, there was an executive session to discuss acquisition of property. Now, the city has every right to go to executive
session to buy property, and that's what they went in
to talk about. Now, remember this date, May 27th. Why is May 27th important? Well, let's take a look at this private agreement between the city and properties. First of all, this date right here is a date. So when you look this up online, look at this date. This date is May 15th, 2014. Okay, that is 12 days before the executive session to talk about acquiring property. Okay, now, this document was signed on May 29th, 2 days after the executive session. So 2 days after the executive session to acquire property, the city authorizes the sale of property. Now, it's very important to note that you cannot discuss the sale of community-owned city property in executive session.
Can't even discuss it. Has to be done in the open.
But they had a document already drawn up May 15th. They discussed it, or there was a discussion on May 27th in executive session. And there was a sale, a commitment to sell, an intent to sell on May 29th. Okay? So it was committed to sell. Now, the next document that's important for you to know is, when did the sale actually take place? When did Walmart or Price Properties actually own the property? Okay? Well, we acquired this document, the general warranty deed. Okay? Now, if you go to the back sheet of the general warranty deed, it will tell you that the deed was made this 12th day of August 2014 between the City of Liberal and the City of Liberal. There's an effort there to try to move the property out from underneath that helmet of the FAA. Okay? So that's this document. And you can find that document when you check out what we put online. When the city actually signed this quick claim, this general warranty deed, and Walmart took possession of the property, was the 23rd of February 2015. And on the 23rd of February 2015, Mayor Joe DeNoyer signed this document, in effect giving Walmart the property. They now are the deed holders of the property. Okay? Now, at this time, the FAA, which has to
Release that property, hasn't. Doesn't even know. Isn't even aware. And
when they find out, they issue a notice of inquiry. Because here's, in their own words, here is what they say. Dear Mr. Hall, City Manager Mark, Mr. Hall, this is July 9th. So the property has been sold in February 23rd. It's July 9th when the FAA responds. On March 13th, you the FAA released 11.3 acres
of federal surplus property of the Liberal Municipal Airport. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, acted in good faith to begin the process of releasing the property at 7th and Western.
The federal surplus property requirement. And we published a notice of request to release airport property in the June 3rd, 2015 Federal Register.
Comments received during the Federal Register process indicated that the city sold the property to Price Properties LLC in late 2014. This information is contrary to your discussion in a meeting with us on March 11, 2015. During the meeting, you indicated the city's desire to explore selling the property for development of a discount store. So according to the FAA, on March 11th, Mark Hall told them that it was the city's desire to explore selling the property for development of a discount store. On March 11th,
he said we were interested in selling one, and on February 23rd, it had already been sold. Walmart already had possession of the property about 2 weeks before Mark Hall tells the FAA that we're considering selling a piece of the property. It goes on to say
that Title 49 of the U.S. Code requires the FAA to receive the city's written assurance that all revenue generated by the airport will be expended for the capital operating costs of the airport, the local airport system, or other local facilities owned or operated by the
airport owner or operator, and directly and substantially related to the air transportation of passengers or property. The city has provided this assurance when they signed a grant. This statutory
requirement is reflected in Grant Assurance 25, Airport Revenues. If the property has been sold, we presume all sales proceeds will be returned to the airport fund.
Well, as we know, all the proceeds have not been returned to the airport fund. But we got to remember, what was the original intent? It was to sell the property for $850,000 and build new softball fields for that $850,000. When that original deed that the city tried to sell or move the property into its own possession, which it already had, they gave themselves some upfront money to go ahead and start the construction of the ball fields. And it's right here, 2014 City of Liberal 1 cent sales tax report, and it came out of streets, drainage, and capital improvements. And it's this line right here. Recreational improvements, 8th Street ball field financing, $850,000. Now, if you go to the minutes that are shared on the city's website, and you go to August 13, 2014, you'll find this. Staff Finance Director
Chris Ford and Mark Hall requested the commission consider temporarily moving $850,000 from the streets, drainage, and other capital improvements portion of the 1 cent sales tax to help funding the fields. With the proceeds from the sale of the property at 7th and Western, which closes Friday, August 15th, those funds will be able to be replenished. So the city says we'll go ahead and start building the ball field.
$50,000 out of streets, drainage, and capital improvements, but we'll put that money back when we get the money from Walmart for selling them the old ball fields. Okay. And we've seen where they've moved the $850,000 out of streets, drainage, capital improvements. So that happened. So what happened after that? Move the money back. Well, no, that's not what happened next. In March 10th of 2015, once the city, February 23rd, remember, they sold it and Walmart had it, and now we had the money. The Walmart $850,000. So this is what the city staff asked for. You can find this in their March 10th, 2015 minute notes. Okay? It says, Finance Director Ford requests the consideration of the Commission to temporarily deposit the sale proceeds from the sale of the 7th Street and Western Avenue properties into the Ball Fields Capital Project, along with any community donations received, with any remaining Ball Fields Capital Project funds to be transferred into streets, drainage, and other capital improvements portion of the 1 cent sales tax once the project. And that passed 5-0. So now we had $850,000 in that fund from the sales tax, and we have another $850,000 from the sale of the ball fields. That's $1.7 million And there was a $300,000 gift from National Beef for the ball fields. So at one time you had $2 million into the ball fields. Now, they were able to, just this year, move back, show you this report. They were able to move back right here in the second quarter of 2017. That would be April, May, and June. Somewhere in the April, May, and June period, they moved back $300,000 back into streets capital improvements. So at the end, they only used $550,000 out of streets improvements, $850,000 of Walmart money from the sale of the property, and $300,000 donation from National Beef. $300,000 plus $850,000 plus $550,000, $1.7 million for the fields. Okay. However, the FAA still was not satisfied because they didn't put the money where it was supposed to go. They sold surplus property, so $850,000 was due to the Airport Land Use Fund. So the city decided to have an appraisal done and determined that the land was worth $397,000. So in the second quarter of 2015, and you can get this as the city 1 cent sales tax report, in the second quarter, they moved $397,000 from the Economic Development Fund of the 1 cent sales tax to the airport land sale transfer. Okay, the airport land sale transfer is why they moved that money over. And their minutes from that night, June 23rd, 2015, says Commissioner Harrison moved to transfer $397,000 from the economic development portion of the 1 cent sales tax to the airport land sale fund as presented, with Vice Mayor Aragon seconding the motion. And the motion passed. So they moved $397,000 over, which left a balance of $450,000 that the FAA still said was required to be paid to make everything right. To this day, that payment has not taken place. Now, at a recent City Commission meeting, a citizen, Doug Lafreniere, asked the city, have they requested any grants from the FAA? And the answer to that was no. We have obtained a document from the FAA through the Freedom of Information Act, dated earlier this year. And on January 31st, 2017, Debbie Giske, who's the airport manager, sent this to Mr. Wilson, who is the Federal Aviation Administration Airports Division head for this part of the country, the middle part of the country. She said, Mr. Wilson, please find attached an executed copy of the engineering agreement and record of negotiations with H.W. Lochner, Inc. for the acquisition of snow removal equipment. This is for the anticipated Air Improvement Program Grant 3-20-0050-23-2017. If you need anything further, please contact my office or Chris Flugel Lechner. Thank you for your assistance, Debbie Giske. The response from Mr. Wilson came February 3rd, and he says, Debbie, our compliance office has notified me that you are currently working to resolve grant compliance issues as it relate to the land sale. If this issue is not resolved in a timely manner, I am concerned about the implication of this issue to your upcoming project. We have been working together to prepare for you to receive a grant for the SRE project in fiscal year 2017. If the issue is not resolved, the grant will be issued with a special condition that will restrict payment until a corrective action is taken. Since you are already incurring costs for the design, you should get this issue resolved so you may be reimbursed as soon as a grant is issued. If this issue is not resolved, it could delay the NTP for the equipment. To avoid the negative impact to your 2017 project, please resolve this issue before the grant application is submitted. We anticipate a grant application submittal for this project on May 1, 2017. Please continue to work out the solution and keep me in the loop with your project. So this document shows that the city was seeking funds from the AIP grant program, but was told they would not get funds from the AIP grant program for snow removal equipment, which is important to note because if you also look at the sales tax report for 2017, that out of the 1 cent sales tax economic development is a snow removal broom, $222. So rather than that money coming from an AIP grant, an Air Improvement Program grant, it came from the 1 cent sales tax economic development portion. And that can be found right here. The issue has not been resolved, and you'll be able to find all of this documentation on our website. It's important for you to know the facts and to know the painstaking effort that has gone through so that you could have the facts, despite the challenges of having to make open records requests and Freedom of Information Act requests so that you can get this data. There's no sides to these. These are simply the facts. Every one of these documents exist. It's up to you to decide whether you believe what the documents say or not. It's Earl Watt with the Leader in Times. Thanks for watching.